Awesome. So without further ado, now we're kind of at the time of the session. So let's kick things off. My name is Nabil. Really nice to have everyone attending Discover, being a part of this panel. Thank you so much. I lead marketing here at Deliver, and this session is really around the future of e-commerce websites. And I'm incredibly excited to have our panelists here today who each work at companies that are really pioneering what the e-commerce experience is going to look like in the future and are already taking strides to making the e-commerce experience that much better for customers, your customers, and helping you kind of achieve your business results. So that being said, I want to have all of us kind of introduce ourselves. Then what we'll do is go into individual presentations around each of these companies and what they're bringing to the table and what they think their view on the future of e-commerce will be. And then we'll have an open round for Q&A. I'll have a chance to kind of put each of these folks on the hot seat and kind of ask a few questions to dive into things a little bit. So Chris, do you want to start us off and give a quick intro?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, thanks, Nabil, and thanks to the Deliver team for putting on such a great event. Really enjoyed the session so far. So yeah, my name is Chris Lavoie, and I run tech partnerships at Gorgias, which is an e-commerce help desk built to power all communication channels that you might have with your customers and also potential customers pre-purchase. So yeah, really excited to talk today about what the future of CX looks like for e-com.
Thanks, Chris. Nick, do you want to go next?
Yeah, thanks, Nabil. My name is Nick. I am co-founder of Shogun. We create software that empowers brands and agencies to create exceptional e-commerce experiences. We have two products, Shogun Page Builder, which is a drag and drop website builder seamlessly integrated into e-commerce platforms like Shopify, BigCommerce, Salesforce Commerce Cloud. We have this new product, Shogun Frontend, which is an end-to-end e-commerce experience platform. So excited to share more today. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Nick. And Jay?
Sorry, just getting unmuted there. Hey, everyone. Nice to meet you. Well, nice to be here. Nabil, also thanks for having us on. I'm one of the co-founders at Bold Commerce, and we do a lot of things. We focus a lot around the checkout experience. A big focus of that is subscriptions and everything else that kind of helps brands sell more, whether that's through upselling, bundling, cross-selling, through, before, and during, after the checkout. So excited to be here and chat about future of commerce.
Thanks so much, Jay. So as you guys can see who are attending, this is a powerhouse panel. So what they'll do is start off, go into their individual areas, speak to their presentations, and then we'll do a good Q&A after this. So Chris, if you'd like, please kick us off.
For sure. Yeah, excited to jump right into it. So to set the stage, what I'll be talking about is a quick intro to Gorgias just to orient you. I'll then set the stage and give important context on where things stand in customer experience and customer support as it relates to modern e-com. And then I'm going to give a few predictions on how I see the landscape changing over the next few years as it relates to customer support and experience. And I'll talk about how Gorgias is positioning ourselves to really support the growth of our merchants. And so to quickly refresh you, if you're not familiar with Gorgias, we're a customer support help desk built for e-commerce direct-to-consumer brands. That help desk word's not obvious to everybody, certainly if you're younger. And so help desk means it's an agent-powered platform, so there's actual human beings using our software on a day-to-day basis to deliver exceptional customer experience to their consumers. We're a global company now. We're supporting 7,000 plus D2C sellers across the globe. And one of my favorite stats is that over 20,000 individual humans are using Gorgias on a day-to-day basis to work with their customers, which I think is pretty awesome. And so now switching over to just give some important context on customer experience and engagement and where that fits, say, in the modern stack. And we really see this as that critical layer, that being customer engagement. I think retailers and brands are starting to see that as well earlier on in their growth stage. There's a few key data points here that kind of give you the sense of just how important it is to deliver exceptional experience to your consumers. And to sum up those three data points succinctly, the key ingredients for exceptional CX for a brand to deliver to your customers, those two key ingredients are speed and automation. So delivering information fast at the right place at the right time. Customers and potential customers don't want to wait. Our patience is lower than ever because tools are better than ever. And so we expect more faster. So that's ingredient number one, is speed and automation. And then the second ingredient is personalization. So we all have tremendous amounts of data on our customers, whether it's zero party, first party, second party, whatever. And so it's important that you're leveraging that in the communication with your customers to showcase that you understand them. A really quick example is it's not uncommon for a shopper to engage with your social media on a Monday, engage with your live chat on your website on a Wednesday, and then maybe respond to an SMS or email marketing campaign on the weekend. And a good customer experience platform will treat that as the same customer, recognizing that it's the same person that you're talking to. You already have all the context you need, so you shouldn't be asking repetitive questions, giving the impression that you had no idea that this was the same person. So that's just a simple example of how important personalization can be. Cool. So to summarize where things stand now, just like malls become crazy, certainly around the BFCM and the holiday season, so too do, the online waiting room, so to speak, for customers who have issues. They want to get a return done, or they have, they got the wrong order. And so what's happening is brands are really struggling to keep up with their support volume, specifically inquiries from customers post-purchase. And so this slow response time is having huge negative impacts on things like your retention, your customer churn. It's forcing retailers to really, beef up their customer support teams, whether you're outsourcing through the Philippines or you're hiring domestically. That's obviously going to bring about a lot of costs. You're going to have to potentially lay people off, say, after the holiday season. And there's a significant onboarding period as well. So it's just not great overall for everybody involved. By missing, not having your data, integrated across your tools and lacking that personalization is costing you big time sales. And overall, this just isn't delivering a good experience for customers. This is true, as it says here, all times of the year, but, with upcoming BFCM and holiday season, it's really easy to not convert potential customers, but certainly lose hard-earned customers, by delivering a poor customer experience post-purchase. And so that's kind of where the state of things are now. And so I'm going to shift gears here in a second and talk about where things are going and how brands can set themselves up for success. So I'm just going to run through a few quick predictions of where the landscape is changing, and then I'll talk about how Gorgias is fitting into that. And so prediction number one is brands are going to start to give customers the ability to get answers and take action themselves. And what I mean by this is if we look at a typical breakdown of a typical direct-to-consumer brand support volume, you can see that 1/3 of all the volume that you're getting, whether you're doing 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 tickets a month, is strictly related to order status. And what happens for less mature brands who aren't set up with the appropriate tools is they spend so much time answering these questions around order status, whether that means you're manually going into a Shopify and pulling that customer information and then pasting that into a Gmail. That's not scalable, and ideally you should never be answering those questions. And so Gorgias makes it really easy to basically wipe away the categories that are highlighted in blue. And then if I just skip ahead here to show you how we do that. And so when I say the prediction, brands will start giving customers the power themselves. A good product feature that we have that enables you to do that is our new self-serve widget. So this just pops up on the bottom right of a website. You can go to hellotushy.com, which is a great bidet company that's a customer of ours. You'll see it on their website. And so what this will allow you to do is it basically, instead of automating ticket resolution, which is something that we do, now we're just deflecting it by giving customers the ability to get answers and take action themselves. So if I go on hellotushy.com, I could track, return, cancel, or report an issue with an order simply by putting my email, my phone number, or the order ID itself. And that's a really great way to get things happening rapidly. But if I need to, I can also escalate it to a live agent by hitting start conversation. So this is a great customer experience. It deflects a lot of volume by bogging up your support channel. And then what happens when you do this, when you deflect this cumbersome, time-consuming part of your support volume, you start to see and have bandwidth to focus on these pre-purchase opportunities. So you can see here, 13% of a typical D2C brand support volume is actually not post-purchase at all. It's pre-purchase. Things like product availability, suggestion, product question, pre-order question. So if you're spending all your time answering things like order status, you're missing the opportunity to focus on pre-sale opportunities. And so when I say brands will, give customers the ability to take action themselves and get answers, it will free up a lot of time for brands to start driving more sales opportunities because they'll actually then have the bandwidth. And this 13% of your volume, as I said, you start going from 1, 10 to 25,000 plus tickets a month. That starts to add up to really meaningful revenue opportunity. And here's a quick example. One of our brands 2 years ago drove a ton of traffic to their website and engaged in live chat. And they had a really low first response time, so getting back to customers in 2 minutes, and they drove $23,000 in sales just through live chat. And this data point is in support of that. So just to show you how important that can be. Shifting gears to the second prediction, and I know I'm running a bit behind on time, is brands are going to start adopting automation earlier in their growth cycle to survive in a competitive landscape, but also realizing how it can help them scale faster. And so whether that's using Gorgias or other great tools in the space, it's going to be critical to really keep up. And so I won't go into the weeds of these specific features, but Gorgias has things like live chat, macros, which are canned responses, and rules, which are if statements. So if this happens, or if a customer says this, then take this action, which really helps you automate a higher percentage of your support volume, which again keeps your customers happy, but frees up bandwidth to focus on pre-purchase opportunities. And this next one's a big one. So prediction number 3, brands are going to start to consolidate communication channels with customers to deliver a more seamless customer experience, but also boost return on ad spend. So there's 2 parts here. I read a great blog the other day by Deliver, actually, where they're talking about just how important it is for brands to start selling and engaging via social media, TikTok, Instagram, etc. So with Gorgias, at least, we don't really care what channel a customer might be engaging with your store, whether it's classically through email, live chat, or SMS, or it's over social media because they're replying to a post of yours or a story of yours, or they actually want to DM you. That doesn't matter to us. We're going to detect that that's a customer of yours. We're going to match that up with the customer profile, and then the tickets or the conversations are going to look the same. And what's great about this is a lot of brands struggle with the level of engagement they get on social media, especially if they have a high following. So their marketing team will be like, look, I just sent out this beautiful campaign and we got a ton of engagement, but then they're like, oh, it's not really our job to keep up the conversations. And so a lot of that goes unattended to and unresponded to. So now the marketing team can do what they do best, get engagement, and then these conversations and engagement will come back through Gorgias. So now support agents can put their sales hats on, so to speak, and really drive more selling opportunities through social media, which is the equivalent of, say, 5 to 7% increase in your return on ad spend. And then the last one, and I'll wrap up, is that you're through modern e-com tools and just in SaaS in general, you're having more of your tools be integrated. And so as a brand, you're probably using anywhere between 5 to 20 different apps and tools. And it's really important that you have them integrated with one another, because that creates so many more powerful use cases that is going to help you get max value out of it. And so I tell this to people all the time. It's like, look, if all of your favorite tools aren't working together, if it makes sense, of course, and are integrated, then you should be putting pressure on your vendors to actually get these integrations built out. And we're seeing a big shift, certainly in e-com, where brands are starting to make sure all of their favorite tools are integrated. And certainly we take that seriously at Gorgias as well. We currently have over 60 plus apps as well. Yeah, and that's it. Appreciate the Deliver team for putting on a great event and including us. And obviously, if anyone is interested in checking out Gorgias, I'm happy to set you up with a free trial.
Thanks so much, Chris. Really appreciate it. We're going to hand it over to Nick now from the Shogun team.
Yeah, right on. Thank you. And thanks, Chris. Cool. All right, let's talk a little bit about the future of e-commerce websites. So a surprise to no one, we are moving into an era dominated by mobile and mobile commerce, right? Over 50% of e-commerce is now mobile commerce. And so with this change in consumer behavior comes new kinds of pain points. Half of all web traffic comes from mobile. Yeah, mobile conversion rates are lower than desktop. In short, speed equals revenue. You have that direct correlation being indicated, not by us over at Shogun, but by Google. And Google has published some really interesting research. If you go check out, I think it's like some of the benchmarking data by Think with Google, they kind of show you every second of page load directly increase your probability of bounce. In fact, 53% of shoppers have usually bounced from a site after 3 seconds of load time. 3 seconds of load time sounds like a lot of time, but I would urge folks to go and actually check out some of their favorite brands on their mobile device with Wi-Fi turned off and click around and see how long it takes for those pages to load. And it's actually, estimated there's potentially a 7% reduction in conversion rate per single second of load time. So that equates to real dollars for e-commerce businesses. And beyond that material impact, you also take a hit to shopper experience and satisfaction. when your site isn't performant, right? With almost 80% of shoppers saying that they wouldn't return to an online store with poor performance. And I think that these pain points around page speed, have actually driven a lot of awareness to alternative solutions, I would say. And here, let's talk a little bit about headless commerce and kind of put a definition on headless commerce. I'll preface by saying, I think that probably starting around like 2020, there started to be a lot more talk about headless commerce, composable commerce. Now I'm hearing about like non-linear commerce. It's tough because I think that different companies put forth different definitions. I digress. I would also say, before going into define it, that I think that the vernacular is used in kind of a unique way for e-commerce ecosystem versus how developers have traditionally used the term headless and generally referring to headless content management. But I digress. Simply put, headless is a separation of the core technology that drives the back end of your e-commerce website. This is usually handled by the e-commerce platform versus the core technology or technologies that drive the front end, the visual presentation layer, the part of the site that the shoppers can see and interact with. So again, that means that if you're using Shopify or BigCommerce or Magento or Salesforce Commerce Cloud as your e-commerce platform, it's using a different specialized piece of technology or technologies for the visual presentation layer. And that's, in a nutshell, what headless is. It's not a specific thing. There's no one specific approach or right or wrong way to implement a headless solution. You can have BigCommerce as your backend and WordPress as your front end if your site is minimally transactional and more content focused. If you're a much larger merchant and you're on SAP Hybris and you need a really robust enterprise grade DXP like Adobe AEM, I think that some folks would argue that's headless, right? You're using a specialized piece of tech for the front end. And there has been an enormous amount of attention drawn towards progressive web application architectures and approaches to headless commerce because of the implications for performance. And when I'm talking about performance, I mean solutions that provide what is perceptively sub-second load time for shoppers when they're browsing through a site. But moreover, beyond the importance of headless or composable or nonlinear or whatever it is, zooming out to the macro of it, merchants are interested in headless or in these alternative solutions because they're looking for what I found to be three core things, right? They want unparalleled site speed, they want rich visual merchandising, and they want the ability to scale their content management. And let's go in a little greater depth into each of these. So unparalleled site speed. Certain forms of headless make sites load instantly. And again, that's usually progressive web application approaches to headless. Why is it so important to make a website load instantly? If it wasn't clear before, I'll just spell it right out. When you increase the speed of a site, what happens is the bounce rate drops, right? More shoppers stay on the site. As a result, the overall e-com conversion rate tends to go up and the average order value actually tends to go up. So you get this really nice clear line of sight to ROI for a lot of merchants when you increase your site speed. Number two, rich visual merchandising. So it's kind of been my experience that a lot of these successful D2C brands, these e-commerce brands, they generally like thrive or not based on their ability to differentiate themselves and provide a differentiated brand experience. And so merchants are interested in finding solutions that will enable them to make an experience more similar to something like Apple.com than to a default theme that they might get with their e-commerce platform, or even a specialized theme, just because those same themes are leveraged by thousands, now millions of other merchants, right? And they want to be able to provide these unique brand experiences without taking a performance hit. Now, when you're operating in the confines of usually what folks are using is a theme for their store, you're operating in the constraints of an HTML templating language. When you're switching to a lot of these headless solutions, you're usually switching over fundamentally to a different type of framework, to a different language like React.js. You're now able to have that incredibly rich type of immersive shopping experience, but still have instant page load and not take that hit. Whereas before, if you were going and designing something really unique and fancy, usually there's going to be a trade-off there where the performance is going to suffer. And the last thing that I would mention is that as merchants scale, their content management needs tend to become more complex. Let's give some specifics there. So when you're starting off, the basic CMS functionality or meta fields or whatever, fields functionality inside the e-commerce platform generally suffices. But let's say all of a sudden you're expanding your business internationally and you're now going to be operating in 13 different locales, and you need to manage translated content or even unique and personalized content per locale for 13 different instances. All of a sudden that starts to become a pretty big content management headache, and one that e-commerce platforms, as great as they are, they don't go that deep into advanced content management. Additionally, just more robust tools, and especially ones that have enabled deep customization, but in a no-code format, more robust tooling there, whether that's, you want to call that an experience manager or a page builder, or a visual content management system, just increased competency there as well. And so those are generally the drivers for why merchants are so curious to check out headless and adopt headless solutions. And some have done so to great effect. And so you see here's a case study with our client Nomad. Nomad was the first adopter of our new piece of tech, Shogun Frontend, our e-commerce experience platform. They switched over. The site was pixel identical to their former site, which was built on Shogun Page Builder and Shopify, and within the in the confines of the native platform. And when they switched over, changing nothing but the underlying technology, right? Not the design, but the underlying tech, they saw a 25% increase in their e-commerce conversion rate. And they also saw a 25% increase in revenue per user. And we had pretty good indication that this was a result of the performance gains because they saw over a 15% reduction in their bounce rate. Once they made the flip, they also started to really kind of spread their wings and do things from a visual merchandising, from a shopping experience perspective, that were either not possible or quite difficult to do before, even with Shogun Page Builder and with their themes. Really, and as Reese put it here, really allowing themselves to imagine the next evolution of their storefront. And if you go and look at some of the visual merchandising attributes of like their product detail pages, where you can go and switch the variant and the entire page remerches instantly, right? The whole thing in a fraction of a second, you can see what I mean with some of these unique visual merchandising experiences. And so that is what some of these headless solutions or modern e-commerce front-end solutions enable. And that's all I got. So I'll turn it over.
Thanks so much, Nick. Really appreciate it. I'd encourage everyone to just head over to nomadgoods.com after this presentation and just look at the experience, because it's quite exceptional. But yeah, handing over to Jay for our final panelist, and then we'll get into a rapid fire Q&A.
Hey, everyone. Okay. I'm going to talk about subscriptions because that's something that I'm passionate about and a big part of what we do. So I can click on the screen here oh, here we go. Sorry. There we go. So I want to start with how it started, how it's going. You see those tweets, how it started, how it's going. I thought I'd kind of frame that this way. How it started. Well, subscriptions equaled subscribe and save. It was a simple model. Subscribe and save equaled more convenience. People signed up because it was more convenient. More convenience equaled subscription conversion, and subscription conversion equaled recurring revenue, and everyone was happy. And see if my GIF didn't work in this presentation, but obviously that everyone knows this GIF. But today, fast forward 7 years later, kind of since this kind of subscription revolution, if you want to call it that, here's how it's going. Subscriptions now are simply a payment option. They're a shipping option. They're a way people want to purchase. Subscribe and save, that's kind of become expected table stakes. If you don't save when you subscribe, you're expecting to save money. The convenient subscriptions that everyone loved are turning into subscription fatigue, and we've all had that. We've ordered stuff and it's built up in our shelves, and we have too many subscriptions. Subscription fatigue turns into churn, retention issues, and of course, retention issues turn into eventual failure. So are all subscription brands doomed? Of course not. Quite the opposite. And actually, it really is quite the opposite. And I'm going to get into where the opportunity still is. But over 78% of adults have a subscription. The top 5 Fortune 500 companies all have a subscription model. Gartner research says that by 2023, 75% of all D2C e-commerce brands will have a subscription membership offering. So if you're watching right now and you are a D2C brand, you should be thinking about this, because if you're not, your competitors probably are, and they're going to capture that subscription membership. And you can see how subscription companies have outpaced the S&P 500 in the last 5 years. They've over 400%. They've grown over 400% faster than the S&P 500 since 2012, if you separate out subscription-based companies. And it's a win-win. Subscriptions are good for customers and they're good for brands. And that's why I think they have grown so rapidly. Is subscribers are more valuable to brands. Obviously, their lifetime value is higher, on average 178%. But for the brands that are really doing well, their subscription lifetime value is 400% higher, but on average 178% higher. Your company is more valuable when you're doing recurring revenue. And because customers are more valuable, you can spend more on customers. You can spend more to acquire them. You can spend more when you service them. You can have great service software like Gorgias. You can hire great people because they're members. They have a better value. So as a customer, that's a good thing. I actually like being a subscriber to brands because I get treated better. I'm a member, not a customer. So it really is a win-win. So even though we looked at all kind of like it's becoming table stakes, how are brands still growing and thriving? The secret is the brands that are winning are understanding and moving from a subscription to a membership mindset or a membership model. And it's really not subscription that we should be focusing on, it's membership. Because, well, actually, different slide. But taking a quick step back first, subscription falls into three main buckets when we look at it. There's replenishment, curation, and access. But the brands, and just to kind of briefly describe this, replenishment is shampoo every month, same thing over and over. Curation is some aspect of curated, whether that's a flavor of the month, a box, or something that is curated to you. Access is giving access to something. So access to content, access to exclusive courses or video content, or it could even be products. Brands used to think of themselves as one of these three categories. They would say, I'm a curation style subscription. I'm a replenishment style subscription. But what we found is the brands that actually are winning are ones that understand that a subscription model needs an aspect of every needs a piece of every aspect of a subscription to win. So they need curation, they need access, and they need replenishment. Just an example, if it was a coffee, it would be the replenishment is the coffee every month, probably at a subscribe and save. The curation is maybe you're throwing in a flavor of the month or a roaster's choice. Access is maybe once a quarter, there's a Zoom call with the head roaster that goes through and explains like how the coffee's made and what it pairs with. I don't know if coffee pairs with stuff, but it could be access to exclusive products, maybe member or VIP pricing, maybe partner benefits. Maybe if I'm subscribed to this coffee, I'm also getting 20% off with some other partners and other things. And then the other thing is a great membership is always increasing in value. If you think of your Amazon Prime membership, the day you bought it, you probably got it because it got you free shipping or 2-day shipping. And now it's not even about that. If you don't order something for 2 months, you're not canceling your Prime membership because it's Prime Video, Prime Music, Prime storage. Your Alexa's probably synced with it, your Ring account. They're continually adding value too. So if you have a membership that embraces all the core needs of what a member needs, and it's always increasing, then you have a winning subscription. And these are the brands that are really succeeding. So I think it's important that people understand the difference between. And so this is just quite sums it up. A subscription gives customers access to a product or a service. A membership means belonging to an organization or a group. And you can be subscribed to something without being a member, and you can be a member of a brand without being subscribed to them. But when you're a subscribed member, and when brands know how to capitalize and charge for that membership, is really when they start winning. So again, membership is the notion of belonging, and it's something that human beings crave. We actually people would say they're a member of a brand even if they're not subscribed to them. They just maybe they always buy from that brand, or they believe in their values. And a subscription it's a revenue agreement. It's a financial concept. It's a shipping choice. But you can often have subscription be a piece of a membership. So then really quickly, what does this look like? I actually just went through 3 brands that I'm subscribed to and found great examples of ones. And these are some of our customers, but I'm also subscribed to them. So Foreign Affair, they're a wine club. Once a quarter, I get wine from them. And then each time I get my wine, they do a sommelier comes on and does wine tasting, talks about how the wine was made, what it pairs with. And it's actually a really fun event. And I appreciate the wine even more because I understand about it. And a couple other ones that are some of our customers, and I think do a good job with this, is Kenko Smoothies. They have exclusive offers just for their subscribers. So at Christmas, there's a Christmas box. Pharrell Williams just launched, he's got a skincare line. It's called Human Race, but he just launched did a shoe drop, but it was exclusive first only to members. And anytime you can kind of layer in, so that's an example of access. There's different things there, but when you can layer in other benefits, that's when you create a valuable membership. And the brands that get this right, if we want to talk about trends and predictions, the brands that get this right in the next couple of years are going to win. It's not just about the subscription, it's about the membership. And I think that's my last slide. Oh, there was one other brand that I thought did a really good job of this. What was it? Fabletics. If you want to see a great example is you subscribe, you pay $50 a month, and you have a whole bunch of benefits, but you basically get a shopping credit. So you pay $50 a month, but you get $75 worth of a credit to shop. Also a deal every single month, a whole bunch of other perks as well too. So that was just one other great example of membership. So if you want to win, create membership with so much value that your subscribers will never leave. And I think that's it. Yes, that's it. We do subscriptions at Bold. I think that was my last slide. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jay. Really appreciate the presentation from all of our panelists. And now we'll go into our Q&A round. It'll be a bit of rapid fire. I'll shoot questions your way. I would love to hear your take on some of these questions that I have. So starting off with you, Jay, you talked about like memberships, the way to win for brands in the future. Where should brands think about memberships within their life cycle, within their journey? Like, should some of our SMB and like entrepreneurial attendees here today be thinking about memberships from the get-go when scaling their brand, or should they think about some of these other things around product market fit and then think about memberships afterward?
I would think about membership from day one, even if you don't sell subscriptions. Like you could take subscription out of the equation. If you don't, that's fine. What does it mean? What are the value that you get when you are a customer of a brand? Like it can even, I buy stuff from certain outdoors, like my mountain bike I bought recently. I am now getting comes about once a month, a newsletter with like the best trails to ride and cool videos that other people submitted with their mountain bike on their GoPros, and I love it. And that's a really cool benefit. They could capitalize on that even more, but they actually don't have a subscription. But I'm a member to this. In my mind, I'm bought into this brand, and they keep me engaged as a member. And the next time I need something, I'm gonna buy new pedals from them, or I'm gonna buy a new helmet from them. Or so I think it's important to think right early on, what is it that you can do to add more value than just your products? Because if it's just about your products, you're just a commodity, and you'll lose to the cheapest price on Amazon or the cheapest price on Walmart. You have to be more than a commodity. And so think about all the other value that you can add. Maybe it's like a video series and tutorials. There's a ton of things, but it's really important to think early on, and then layer in a paid subscription around it. But you don't have to start with that.
That definitely makes sense. Like you talked about it, like human psychology behavior is that you want to belong to a group, and that helps kind of differentiate your product to be more than just a commodity and something that you actually belong to. I took a couple of notes on kind of like common threads. So like this session was around, what does the future of e-commerce websites look like? And what came up consistently was speed, personalization, exceptional experience, talking about savings in general. What I think is interesting about Jay's point about membership is that it really like taps into what human beings think about. Is like, I want to belong to a group. Whereas like Nick, in your example, you talked about just a slight change in the back end of how quickly a site loads just leads to just so much more conversion. Can you talk a little bit about like why that is? Like, why does just that change lead to such a big jump in conversions?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, and I think that Chris even harped on it initially with, in his presentation, people have shorter attention spans, and they expect things, instantly, right? They expect instant response. I think if you put yourself in the position of the shopper for a lot of these brands who often are pretty mobile heavy, think about where they're being acquired from. Being acquired from social media platforms to a large degree, right? So you got someone sitting on Facebook or Instagram, and they're scrolling, see an ad, they click it. They're in a mood for instant gratification, right? They can scroll through all of these pictures on Instagram instantly, and they want to kind of continue that clip. That's a very specific example, but I think that as a society, it's everybody kind of expects like instant, right? Yeah, I think that when you're not slowing down that that loop or positive response when a person gets to click another product that they want to see and check out, and you can make all that seamless, that even that hopping from collection page into product and back to collection into product, and make all of that instant. Yes, I mean the stats show time on site really goes up if you can make that instant. And it's reflecting the AOV. People end up spending more time on the site. They look at more products. They buy more products.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think like something that people miss too is like the impact that you have on just like your performance marketing, right? So like the algorithms will actually optimize based on your site load speed. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's no surprise to anyone that Google takes that into account when they're kind of looking at ranking and scoring sites. They take a look at performance, at accessibility, and all of that is kind of factored in to their assessment of the site. And yeah, so I think that there's kind of a myriad benefit to having a faster site, but it's pretty plain and simple that people have short attention spans. They're on mobile phones. And they want their sites to load instantly. And if they have to look at a little blue loading bar on Safari, they're going to go elsewhere. They're going to go back to where they came from, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, or Google, or what have you.
It makes sense when you think about it. Like when you actually like scroll through a website and you see an exceptional experience, you want to stay on. You want to be involved in that. So that definitely makes sense. Chris, I had a question for you, kind of similar to the question I had for Jay. It's like, when do you think about providing exceptional customer experience at scale? Is this something that brands should keep into account when they're just coming up? Or sometimes you can feel like once you hit an inflection point and you've scaled and you haven't done these things, it's kind of too late. So when should brands think about implementing solutions that improve customer experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think the obvious answer is you should always be thinking about it from the ground up. The reality is if you're a first-time founder, operator, you're just starting your brand, you obviously need some customer support operation, whether you have, you know, a support at email address where people can message you in, maybe you have a light live chat function. You're going to be doing a lot of the responses and follow up manually, say through email. That's fine. Really, it's whenever you start to feel the pain point. As a founder, you'll typically first hire a support, like your first support manager, for instance. They'll start feeling pain as well, and then it's like, okay, we can't do this manually anymore. We definitely need some type of software or platform to use, like a Gorgias, for example. Now, if you're already using a tool or you already have a pretty robust CX platform or tool in place, and you really want to go next level, then you're going to start to be aggressive and thinking about leveraging, say, social media engagement as a driver for conversions, right? So say you have a really robust marketing team, you have a tool like Gorgias or something that's set up to handle that volume, then go engage as much as you can on social media, capture those conversations, and then use that as an opportunity to drive sales. So when you're just beginning, it's really when you start to feel the pain is probably the appropriate time. And then if you're a more mature brand, it's like, look, are we set up to really start driving more sales pre-purchase through customer engagement? And that's when you want to start thinking about a tool as well.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense to me. Shifting gears kind of like to Jay, you mentioned kind of like this membership and like belonging to a community. And one thing I was thinking about is that, you know, when a brand kind of sets up a community and they kind of make it a transaction, or not a transaction, but like a relationship between them and the customer, there's like one dimension within the community. Another way that you can kind of expand membership and like the feeling of community is by having customers themselves interact with one another and the brand. So it becomes like multidimensional. Do you have any examples of brands that do that well, or like how they can go about doing that?
Yeah, the definition of community is when customers stop looking at you and look at each other, and when forums and groups are created, and sometimes the brand's not even in it. Like you might be passionate about a certain type of vehicle or what, and you're in these groups and the manufacturer's not even in it. That's when you have a strong community. This is a really, really important point. There's a thing that happens with any brand, any subscription, anyone that has a recurring revenue. I call it the subscription death curve. And what happens is you start onboarding customers, and it can be 10 a month, it can be 100 a month, it can be 1,000, whatever. It doesn't matter what the number is. Let's say it's 100 a day, and you're paying to acquire these customers, and then you get to a point, because everyone's going to have churn. You'll get to a point where you have 10,000, and if you're churning 100, you're acquiring 100 and churning 100, you flatline, and it's just this curve. It goes up and it flatlines like this, and almost every SaaS software company sees it, e-commerce subscription company sees it. You just get to this point where you're onboarding, and if you have 1 million customers and you're churning 10%, that's 100,000. Like it gets even harder to break out of it. And the only way that you can break out of that is by having your number one acquisition strategy to be referred by friend. And this is like something no one talks about, but for subscription brands, referred by friend is typically one of the number one traffic sources, because when you subscribe to something, you're more aligned with that brand. Like you're more likely to not buy something from a subscription brand and then forget who you purchased from. But I've actually ordered stuff online. I needed like some oil or something, and I like Googled it, found it, ordered it, and then a week later it hasn't come, and I've forgotten who I've ordered it from. But that would never happen with a subscription brand, because you're like buying a membership to it. You're committing to this long-term engagement. So it's more of a commitment. You're also more likely than to recommend it to a friend. I mean, we've all had friends who've been part of some subscription box, and they tell you, oh, you got to try this thing. So tracking that as a key metric is super important, because it's different for every number, but there's a viral coefficient, and you can figure out what it is. But if you have 15% churn, for example, you need to have a viral coefficient of 1.2, which means every subscriber needs to refer 1.2 other people. Every social media platform will track this intimately. They'll know it, and they'll know it right to the day what it is. But subscription brands, for some reason, when I ask them what's their acquisition strategy, it's like influencers, paid advertising, this thing. But I'm like, well, what's your referred by friend like ratio? They have no idea. And they're like, oh, well, we have a link that we put on our page that they can share with their friends and get a 10%. They can get 10% discount. Nobody uses that. You look at things like Clubhouse, and they grew so rapidly, but they limited the refer. You could only refer 5 people. And that was so smart of them to do. And I always tell subscription brands, I say, don't give a link that you can share and they get 10%. Give out 3 links that someone can get an entire month for free, like a $50, like the first month that they can get for free. And they're probably going to really think about who they give that to. They might even phone their friend and they're going to say, like, listen, I got only 3 of these links I can give. It's a free month of this, like, skincare. Like, are you going to use it? Because if not, I'll give it to someone else. You only need them to refer 1.2 to break out of that flat line and to have a viral growth. So give a really, really good offer and limit it. And it's crazy. So that goes to community. So when you have a strong community and then you have a very strategic way to leverage that and turn that into growth, it's mind-blowing how fast companies grow when they figure that out.
Absolutely. That's such an interesting example. I know that we're out of time right now, but I think I just want to summarize by saying, like, it seems like all of you are kind of tapping into some part of kind of like human psychology, more speed, better experience, belonging to a group. And I really enjoyed kind of like understanding what your viewpoint is on the future of kind of e-commerce websites and e-commerce experiences. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. For everyone else on the line, just a quick summary. Tomorrow we have day 2 of Discover. We're going to have speakers from Walmart and Wish, so on and so forth. Quite a good lineup. We're also giving away $100,000 in prizes. So the more sessions you attend, the higher the prize that you can potentially earn and be in a raffle for. So please do come tomorrow. Thank you again to all of our speakers today. Thank you for everyone for attending. Really, really appreciate all of your time.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks so much. Bye.